So it's the first day of school at Constance Billard. Meet Zoya. She's there on a scholarship. She wants to go to Yale to go to drama school, and she hopes that going to Constance will help with that. Her half-sister Julian, a rich and famous influencer, already goes to the school. So at the school, the teachers are all talking about how the students are running amok. They kind of rule the school. Not like the old days when Gossip Girl kept people kind of scared and accountable. But to be honest, we all know that back then, even with Gossip Girl, the kids still ran amok and ruled the school. Anyway, the Gossip Girl website hasn't been updated in 9 years, so they decide to tweet as Gossip Girl. But the tweet falls flat. Gossip Girl seems to be irrelevant, a relic from the past. Jillian and her half-sister Zoya spot each other when Zoya arrives, and the rest of Jillian's friends don't look too happy about that. But later on in the bathroom, we see that Zoya and Jillian are actually excited to meet each other, and they're kind of pulling one over on everyone. They've been in on it together, planning to reunite, and they've been texting all along. Jillian tells Zoya that she's going to try and integrate Zoya into her friend group. Jillian invites her to a members-only party in front of her friends who are not very happy about it. By the way, the sad group of teachers meet up at one of the teachers' homes where they brainstorm how to relaunch Gossip Girl because they can't have the kids ruling the school anymore. Jillian's boyfriend Obi is a rich do-gooder, and Zoa and him seem to get along really quickly and really well because she's into some of the same social causes as he is. Jillian is too busy being the queen bee and an influencer, I guess, so she's not really interested in the same things that Obi's interested in. I'm guessing this is going to be a thing. So at the members-only party, Jillian is giving Zoya the rules of the school and the social ladder, etc., and Zoya looks exhausted, and I don't blame her. Jillian also adds Zoya to the group text, and the other girls hate it, obviously. The Chuck Bass guy, Max, has this weird flirty thing happening with Audrey, but she's with pink hair guy Aki. More on them later. So it's at this gathering that Gossip Girl reveals that Jillian's father funded Zoya's scholarship, and there was some kind of underhand business to kind of make sure that Zoya got in, and that the girls hid that they knew each other before meeting on the first day of school. Zoya gets stuck in the rain on her way home, and Obi tells her that he lives around the corner, so she goes to his place to get dry. One of the teachers sees them from outside and takes a photo of them changing into dry clothes. Or it's more like the photo suggests that they're taking their clothes off together. Obviously, Obi and Zoya bond quite a bit, and he tells Zoya that he feels sometimes like he's just an actor in Jillian's story. She tells him about how Jillian reached out to her 2 years ago, and even though she thinks that the Jillian now is different to the one then, she knows that the old Jillian is in there somewhere. So this male teacher goes and gives the photo of Obi and Zoya to the blonde Gossip Girl lady, and Zoya is woken up the next morning by a Gossip Girl post about it. Jillian says that she won't let Gossip Girl win though, so things are fine between the girls, but it seems like the rest of the school is starting to get invested in Gossip Girl's posts, and everyone in the school is choosing sides. It matters now. So Jillian has this plan to get her power back, and it involves a fashion show. Don't ask me. Monet and her other friend tell her that she's losing followers, and so they hatch up a plan as well. The teachers, meanwhile, are watching all of this unfold, and I don't know why, but I have no idea what's going on at this point. I don't get what the plan is supposed to be. So the friends end up stealing Zoya's phone, and they send out a photo, and Zoya ends up getting escorted out of this fashion show by security. Her and Jillian fight outside, and she tells Jillian that she wishes she never came. She's not going to leave the school, but she isn't going to play the Queen Bee competing game, but the battle lines have kind of been drawn anyway, I guess. Then Obi tells Jillian basically that he doesn't know who she is anymore, he's done, he breaks up with her. Aki and Audrey, meanwhile, are hooking up, and she's not really that into it, but he tells her that it's okay if she thinks of him, meaning Chuck Bass guy Max, and things really start to heat up. I'm guessing because he's thinking about Max as well, I'm guessing this is going to be a throuple too. By the way, earlier in the episode, Audrey does catch Max and Aki kind of in a moment. And even earlier in the episode, Aki catches Audrey checking Max out while they're hooking up. By the end of the episode, Zoya arrives at school, and her and Obi decide to go to some protest or function thing while Jillian looks on, looking upset. Also, Gossip Girl is getting a lot of incoming tips. It's the parent-teacher conference, and the blonde teacher Kate still appears to be Gossip Girl, well, her and the other teachers, but they haven't made a post about it in days. The kids do seem kind of shaken up after the last post though, so I guess they got what they wanted for now. Zoya has been grounded, I'm guessing because of the scholarship thing or hiding her half-sister and the fact that they knew each other. I don't really know, but her father is mad and he stays mad throughout this episode. He's kind of the worst. Jillian is really stressed because people are going to find out that her and Obi have broken up, so her friends are plotting ways to keep this knowledge from the public until they can make up. Jillian says she misses him and she wants to apologize. Anyway, they're on their way to this party and they're talking about how Jillian's social media followers are really invested in this relationship with Obi, so him not being around means she's losing followers. So Jillian and her friends are talking about Obi, and they're also talking about the fact that Zoya and Obi are awfully close. Her friends don't like this, but Jillian does defend Zoya to her friends. Anyway, Jillian texts him and he kind of swerves, telling her that he's going to bed and that maybe they can talk tomorrow. Cut to Obi, who is at the subway, and I guess he's going to Zoya's? Yeah, Jillian, I don't think he's coming back. There's also this gross scene in the bathroom where Max tries to hit on a teacher. Even though the teacher does reject him, it's still kind of inappropriate. So yes, we find out that Obi does go to Zoya's and they're properly flirting, and it's kind of cute, I guess. Someone obviously takes a photo of them, and we know that this is going to get blasted on Gossip Girl. When Jillian and her friends inevitably find out, Jillian's friend Monet tells her to smite Zoya. Monet is a really mean girl, she's petty, and she's very dramatic. I can't help but really like her though. So eventually Zoya's dad and her teacher Kate chat about Zoya, and Kate's phone is buzzing non-stop because, well, she's Gossip Girl, and all of that is just Gossip Girl activity. It's really unprofessional. Anyway, I hope these two had better not start something because I'm sensing a vibe here. We also eventually meet Audrey's mother, who is in bed. It seems as though Audrey's mother has been a little bit of an absentee parent, and she also says no to attending Audrey's charity function. We find out that Audrey's mom's friend, an assistant, and Audrey's dad ran off together. Anyway, she eventually does agree to go to Audrey's charity function. So Kate is frazzled because her Gossip Girl posts are under review, so she can't post anymore, or at least temporarily. This is so silly and I'm so embarrassed, but I'm going with it. Jillian sees Obi staring at Zoya and she walks over, tries to say sorry. You see, she's under the impression that they're on a break, but it's pretty much over for Obi, and he tells her that. He says that he cares about her, but that it's been over for a long time. Zobi, that seems to be the name for Zoya and Obi, get to talking, and he tells her that he wants to spend time with her. She agrees on the condition that they can do it without other people finding out. Jillian, meanwhile, and the girls start scheming. She decides that she's going to uncancel Gossip Girl if Gossip Girl brings her dirt on Zoya. So Max is on this quest to hook up with his teacher, and him and Aki go to this bathhouse which the teacher frequents. They decide that the best thing to do would be to make the teacher jealous, and Max asks Aki's consent, and they end up making out. Apart from the gross teacher part, I don't hate this storyline. And neither does Aki, who seems very keen to carry on making out to make the teacher jealous. So Zoya does some kind of volunteering thing with Kate, and she opens up about how she feels like she doesn't belong, and she also says something like her old school wasn't a good place for her and she can't get kicked out of Constance too. Kate decides then that she's going to use this Zoya incident, whatever happened at her old school, to give to Jillian so that Jillian can uncancel Gossip Girl. So everyone ends up at this fundraiser, including Zoya and her dad, because Obi bought tickets for them. It's some kind of fundraiser for which Audrey is the chair. Zoya's dad and Kate also bump into each other at that fundraiser, and there's definitely something going on here. I don't like it. Jillian then tells her friends that the Zoya dirt that she got from Gossip Girl is for Obi's eyes only. She also freaks out then because both of their dads are there, Jillian's dad and Zoya's dad. And as we know, they both hate each other because Zoya's dad ran off with Jillian's mom back in the day. Audrey's mother, by the way, shows up to the party. She heads straight over to the bar and she's a bit of a mess, and she has a rather embarrassing public incident. Obi asks Zoya if she wants to sneak out of the party just for a little bit. Nobody's going to see what they're up to, but Kate obviously follows them. Jillian says to her friends that she regrets bringing Zoya into her inner circle. Obi ends up taking Zoya downtown to a stationary art supply shop to buy supplies for kids who are in need, and and Gossip Girl makes a blast about this. Max gets a moment with the teacher who tells him to wait until after graduation, and then they can hook up. Still extremely inappropriate, but because the bar for teachers on the show is set so low, I'm just grateful that the teacher didn't go for it. We get a montage of Zoe buying stationery. It's kind of cute and cringy. They eventually kiss, and Jillian is watching from outside with her friends. The parents come by, and Zoya's dad, as usual, is mad and disappointed. Meanwhile, over at Audrey's house, her mother tells her that they're filing for bankruptcy, I guess, or at least their businesses. Just so happens that Max also stayed over, and something happened between the two of them. It just seems like a moment in passing. Kind of blink and you'll miss it, but it happened, I guess. Jillian's father then apologizes to her for keeping her away from Zoya, and they end up making up. The girls then tell Jillian that Zoya is withdrawing from Constance. Zoya doesn't want to hurt anybody, she doesn't want the drama anymore, and she feels it's best to step away. Her and Jillian talk. Jillian has a growth moment where she says that her and Obi are actually the better fit, and that Zoya should stay. Zoya says yes. At the end of the episode, we see that Zoe are out in the open with their relationship. They're really cute, but I honestly might have preferred a bit more of a slow burn. This feels really fast, but okay. Gossip Girl, or Kate, says that she hopes she won't ever have to reveal Zoya's secret. You know, the incident that happened at her old school. So Jillian has been trying to get over her breakup with Obi by traveling about on yachts and going truffle hunting with aristocratic types and heirs. Her exploits are all documented on Gossip Girl, and of course because she's an influencer, it's all out there anyway. It doesn't work though. It seems as though nobody's really interested in her romantically somehow, and her friends tell her that she needs to find somebody new. Audrey tells Jillian that she slept with Max, but she loves Aki, so she won't tell him, and they swear to keep the secret, which means we know it's going to come out. Aki tells Obi the same thing, that he made out with somebody who wasn't Audrey, and he feels really bad. Obi tells him that since this was a mistake and he still loves Audrey, he should just keep quiet and move on. There's no point in hurting her. So there's a lot going on social media. People are making fun of or bullying Zoya, I guess for maybe being poor or being an outsider, or she doesn't eat in a ladylike way, or she ate in public, one of those things. Her building has a kind of fancy looking doorman, and her dad is a lawyer, so I guess this is just poor by Upper East Side standards. Anyway, she invites Obi over to have dinner with her dad. Max, meanwhile, tells Jillian that she's pretty much in a funk because she's kind of a billboard and she just needs to find herself again, and he offers to help because he's good at, quote, demolishing inhibitions. So he's going to take her out and help her find herself, Max style. The principal, meanwhile, calls a staff meeting about Gossip Girl. She says that the parents are threatening to pull their donations to the school if Gossip Girl isn't handled. And there is a new rule. Students aren't allowed to have their phones during the day. Kate, who's pretty gross at this point, mutters under her breath that this is bad for business. Add to this, one of the kids' parents has donated some kind of fancy consultant to figure out who Gossip Girl is. So the teachers all gather in the staff room to figure out ways to escape capture. It's bad. Obi then has dinner with Zoya's father, and it goes well, but they're all so boring. And then he asks Zoya's father if he can take her out on a date. Zoya's father, humorless as he is, says no, but he's getting close to the point where he's going to say yes, I guess. Then the hashtag Zugly starts trending. It's Zoya but ugly. I know. Zoya is really upset by this, which I thought was really absurd at first, but then I remember that she is 14 years old, and online bullying, no matter how petty anybody else thinks it is, it can be really hurtful, so I sympathized with her. Audrey and Aki are in bed together, and it's awkward. I'm so scared that someone is going to accidentally call out Max's name. That doesn't happen, but yeah, it's not great. They are trying though. Max and Jillian go out partying, and meanwhile Zoya becomes pretty obsessed with her trending status, and she calls Luna, the girl who made the hashtag, and Luna tells Zoya that she's going to give her some kind of a makeover. She tells Monet that if Jillian falls, they're not going to go down with her, so basically they're hitching their wagons to the new royal it couple in town. By the way, I know Monet and Luna are meant to be the really mean, popular, shallow girls, but they are a lot of fun. Gossip Girl then sends out a blind item blast, meaning she doesn't reveal any names, about one of Constance's favourite couples, and she reveals that one of them is cheating. Both Audrey and Aki lie to each other because they both feel guilty as they secretly read the blast, knowing that they both cheated on each other. Then, as Jillian is partying, she sees her dad in the club with a woman. Max, meanwhile, at the same time, finds out that one of his dads is on this app that is similar to Grindr, possibly cheating on his husband, Max's other dad. The teachers are still getting up to their teacher shenanigans, and both Audrey and Aki, overcome with guilt, separately confront Max about telling Gossip Girl. Max is all, well, maybe you shouldn't have cheated then. He's unbothered, but he also didn't send the tip to Gossip Girl, at least I don't think he did. Max and Jillian then kind of bond over the fact that Jillian is looking for her dad's new girlfriend, and Max is trying to find out what his dad is up to on the Grindr type app. He asks Aki to catfish his dad to see what his dad is up to. Meanwhile, Jillian stalks her dad's girlfriend from afar. Meanwhile, Luna gives Zoya kind of the lowdown on how she's meant to handle herself on the Upper East Side. How to walk, how to smile, how she can't eat in public, etc, etc. So Zoya meets Obi, dressed to the nines, ready to follow all of upper society's rules, I guess. This is going to be a disaster. And I kind of can't wait. Long story short, Jillian outs her dad as having a girlfriend, I guess, since he was hiding her. Max's parents' storyline is a little more compelling and kind of heartbreaking. One of Max's dad dresses a little bit more flamboyantly, feels as though this is who he is, so he's been doing it a lot more lately, and Max encourages this expression, but Max's other dad, even though he still loves him, misses the older version of Max's dad. Predictably, Zoya and Obi end up having a terrible date because of all the rules. Obi eventually leaves, and he tells Zoya that she's being really weird. Then she tells him that she is who she is, she's going to eat in public. She tells him that it's really hard to date the Prince of New York. Even though he didn't impose any of these rules on her, she's 14, so she listens to what people tell her about the rules of dating the Prince of New York. He eventually also talks to Jules, and he accepts responsibility for what became of them, and she admits that she also got wrapped up in this idea of who she was. I don't know, you guys, I like them, or rather, I like Jules a lot when she's away from her friends and when she's not in influencer mode, when she's just Jules being a friend and being genuine. I mean, I can enjoy all the sides to her because this is Gossip Girl after all, but I like her here. The teachers again are up to something, but exposing one of the husband's ex-bosses, I don't know. After indulging in some party favors, Max reveals the truth about Audrey and Aki to Audrey and Aki. Zola and Obi end their date with a kiss, and I half expected her meddling dad to come out, but he doesn't, thank goodness. The doorman, though, does take a photo of them, and there's something seriously wrong with all of the adults in this show, basically. Except for Max's parents. Max eventually has a very emotional moment out on the steps with his teacher, and he admits how much it hurts what his parents are going through. Even though they don't do anything inappropriate, the teacher being there in this moment kind of ruined it for me. But since this scene was about Max and it was an important, emotionally vulnerable scene, I'll ignore that. Audrey and Aki make up, and it's sweet, it looks genuine, but at the same time, I feel like deep down we all know, they know that this is not quite over, this business with Max. One of the teachers gets fired, and I'm guessing that was kind of the plan all along, even though they tried to wash their hands of it. This teacher was the sacrificial lamb when it came to the whole Gossip Girl investigation, but she proudly tells them that she didn't crack under pressure. Such strange priorities. Anyway, Jillian tells her friends that she left her phone at home one of the days, on purpose. This is some growth, I like this. Then her friends, Luna and Monet, decide that since the sisters won't start a war with each other, they're going to start a war for them. So Zoya's 15th birthday, Audrey and Aki aren't over the Max thing, and I'm guessing this is going to be the main theme of this episode. Monet and Luna are in a bit of a panic because Jillian announces that she wants to try something new. She wants to go without makeup and be more transparent in her life in general. Jules is also thinking about texting Zoya, but she doesn't end up going through with it. As a rule on the show, obviously, the adults are the worst. So we see Jules' dad's new girlfriend fawn all over her, almost trying to get some kind of clout or contacts or network from Jules. It's embarrassing, but Jules' dad, who's really sweet, seems to like her, and he's also really respectful of Jules' space around the house, so she's like, no, don't worry about hiding her again, it doesn't bother me, she's fine. Zoya's sulking, and at first I thought it was just because she's Zoya, but then she mentions that her mom died while giving birth to her, so it's not just her birthday, it's also the anniversary of her mother's death, well, the mother that her and Jillian shared, so I felt really bad. She does blame Jillian for leaking her birthday to Gossip Girl, so she's mad about that, and she makes it clear to her dad that she wants no surprises and no celebrations. Obi kind of does the opposite, and he does organize a surprise by renting croissants and crepe food trucks for her at school. It's pretty conspicuous, but actually, as far as gifts go, this is fine. Other kids seem to be enjoying the food as well, and I think that he knows that she's not going to want a Chanel bag or something. This is sweet. Anyway, Aki is still feeling guilty, and Audrey is stressed about the Max thing as well because Aki might be bi or gay, and it's possible that he's been hiding who he is this whole time. She's just upset that Aki couldn't feel like he could tell her, but we all know that Aki is going through this discovery himself, so he doesn't quite know either. By the way, I adore her jersey here. Luna and Monet are obviously appalled that Jules is not wearing any makeup. They're trying to get her to go back to her old self, and they're always the highlight of the episode. Kate, meanwhile, is complaining that Gossip Girl's becoming like a full-time job, and she doesn't even have time for her lesson plan or her own writing. Ugh, she's so gross. So the other two goons tell her that they'll take over for a while and she can do her writing because she has this project for a big magazine, I guess. Luna then tells Zoya that Jillian wants her gone, and she tells her that Jillian has done something. Aki and Audrey, adorable and awkward as ever, both seem to be trying to get in touch with Max, who is MIA at this point. He hasn't shown up to class in a week. Zoya's dad then tells her that someone called into the housing board saying that they've been living in her grand's apartment and her grand hasn't been living there, which could lead to them being evicted. So I'm guessing this is the thing that Luna did, and Jillian might have known about it. Anyway, Max arrives back at school. He's been to rehab, I think, but either way, it didn't take. The girls, Luna and Monet, convince Jillian to have this very big party for her birthday to, quote, socially murder her sister, and Zoya then also suggests having a big blowout. The only reason she didn't want to have one before was out of respect for her mother, but now they're competing, I guess. I really try to root for Zoya, but I can't with her. I can't handle her. Anyway, a kid shows up next to her, and he tells her that he can solve her problem. She needs to meet him after school. Then there's this gross and bizarre scene where Max walks in on the teacher in the shower. Why is this teacher showering in the school gym? Moving on. Zoya confides in Kate about the battle against Jillian, and Kate encourages her to stand her ground as some kind of representative against the 1%. So Zoya goes to this little prince's home, and he's digging into Jillian's past. He's going to help Zoya take Jillian down, I suppose. Anyway, Jillian gets a lot of cancellation notices from a bunch of people because this little prince is behind her old fat-phobic tweets resurfacing. After this, Jillian sends out a video about her mother, honouring her and announcing that the party was actually for her, and it's also some kind of charity event in her mother's memory. Zoya's obviously really mad at this, and poor Obi, he keeps having to remind her that the woman was Jillian's mother too. He's just patiently cringed out by Zoya acting out every week at this point. After she tells Milo, that's the kid's name, to go to phase 2 of their Destroy Jillian plan, the fathers tell the girls that this party is going to be a joint party. Either that, or the party is off because their antics are annoying everybody, including me. Obviously, though, at the party, Zoya and Jillian carry on with their shenanigans. Max, meanwhile, is kind of spiraling and the teacher shows up because, sure, I don't really care that this teacher is kind of trying to help him. We know what's going to happen here. Kate is at the party yelling at the other teachers because they're there and they're not keeping tabs on things for Gossip Girl. They've made her character so desperate for relevance and power, it continues to be such a strange choice. Audrey brings another guy to the party, trying to make Aki jealous, but the guy she brings is gay as well and her plan kind of falls flat, much like most of the plans that the people on the show make. She asks Aki then if he's gay. She realizes that it's not about her, she was just scared of knowing the answer, and he tells her that he doesn't know. Eventually we see this build up to another plan to take down Zoya. Jillian gives a speech talking about her mom. She then presents a video to the crowd of Zoya vandalizing her old school, then it shows her being stuck in a classroom and panicking. It turns out Zoya was actually being bullied. This is all caught on tape, and obviously Jillian looks pretty bad now for showing something that was so traumatic to her sister. She admits that she's a bully, and she pledges never to bully people again, and she apologizes to Zoya. They eventually make up. Audrey and Aki also finally talk, and he tells her he's into both, but that he loves her and he's attracted to her. Max, meanwhile, tells the teacher that his dad blames him for his marriage falling apart, and then they hook up. I guess the faster this happens, the sooner we can throw the story in the bin. When Zoya and Jillian make up, Zoya tells Jillian about the girls at her old school and how she blames herself for her mother's death. They both apologize to each other, and Zoya eventually finds the long-suffering boyfriend Obi, and they make up as well. See, now, I don't think that it's fair that Zoya's kind of the worst character. She's like little J in her bad years, but because she's genuinely been through a lot, and she's also really young, even though she's a fictional character, I feel bad, like, ragging on her too much, you know? I'm not a fan, though. At the end of the episode, it seems as though everything is kind of resolved, and I don't know, maybe they're going to have another fight and make up next week. We'll see. It's Halloween, which is the backdrop of this episode, and the cause of a lot of mostly boring drama. Max and the teacher are properly hooking up. Our favourites Monet and Luna are so grossed out by Jillian, who's sitting at a different table with Zoya, but they all decide to go to this important Halloween party. So because of Gossip Girl, the teachers have inadvertently made a platform for a kid to get bullied, and one day he's caught bringing a weapon to school. Kate is suddenly the voice of reason, telling the others that this is no longer a simple school social experiment, it's getting out of hand and she's unsure about it all, but the other teachers double down. They actually kind of accuse her of thinking too highly of herself now that she has some of her writing getting published in a well-known magazine. It's as though she's too good for Gossip Girl now. She suggests taking a break from posting, but the others don't want to listen to her. It's been a month, and Obi says that things with Zoya are kind of When he met her, she was all bubbly, full of ideas, talking all the time, but now she doesn't really talk as much anymore. Their relationship has some growing pains, he says. Zoya is on the bus and she bumps into a hipster guy who carries a brick phone. He's a scholarship kid named Simon, and he goes to the same school as the kid who brought the weapon to school. He asks Zoya why she's reading Gossip Girl. He feels that it might contribute to people feeling bad about themselves. We're definitely going to see this guy again. I sense a love triangle. Audrey's mother's up and out of bed, cooking for her. Her mother tells her then that they're going to have to move home, 2 hours away. They're in debt, the family business can't be saved, and when Audrey asks why they can't just sell another one of their houses, the mother says that that wouldn't even cover the cost of maintenance on the house that they currently live in. The gang is at their favorite fancy hangout spot, and Obi is talking to Zoya about how deforestation affects public health, and he asks if she wants to go to some conference about it. Everybody is awkward and bored, including Zoya. By the way, I didn't get Jillian this episode. I know she wants to have a relationship with her sister, and that's great, but she has this weird energy about it, like she's almost obsessive, trying too hard, and it weirds me out a little. I actually can't blame Monet and Luna for wanting her to go back to being old Jillian. I might be biased though, because I think Zoya is incredibly boring. I also feel like it's a pity that we didn't get to see influencer mean girl Jillian when she was still really tight with Monet and Luna. And that would have been fun. We could have seen her slowly develop over the course of the season, but the show seems quite determined to make her the already reformed mean girl, and I feel like it's a little bit of lost potential. Aki is being kind of shady about Max. He tries to call him at home, but apparently Max hasn't been home. Sure, Aki could just be concerned, but I don't know, I sense there's more. So hipster guy Simon shows up and Zoya is a little too keen on seeing him. It's innocent enough, I guess, but it's just noteworthy. They're both like, well, we're only here because rich people dragged us here. He then asks her for her number, and he says it's because a kid brought a weapon to his school and it made him think that life is too short to not hang out with people you connect with. I mean, okay, it seems to work because Zoya gives it to him. This next scene with the group and Jillian kind of third wheeling was so awkward, not only because of what was happening, but because of the way it's shot. It suddenly felt like I was watching actors on a set playing these characters, and I know that's what they are, but somehow in this moment I felt so aware of it. It was a really bad scene. Then Zoya's dad calls Kate and asks her to be Zoya's tutor. Aki confronts Max about how dangerous this teacher thing is. He is just being a friend, but Max also thinks that there's more to it, that Aki is feeling kind of restless in his relationship or in general. The girls, by the way, decide to do a couple's costume, and they're going to go as Beyonce and Solange in the elevator era. Zoya then tells Jillian that sometimes she doesn't know if Obi actually cares about the things that he talks about, or if he just thinks that he should care. Zoya's really full of it here, I think. She says that instead of going to these talks and conferences, he should do something. But you know, since Zoya has been so caught up in Gossip Girl and Upper East Side life, it's a little rich coming from her, because it's not like she does anything. Aki then goes to confront the teacher to tell him to consider staying away from Max because he's only 17 and this is super illegal. The teacher tells him to bugger off basically, and if Aki tries anything, he'll spread some rumor about him to get him suspended. These teachers, am I right? Zoya's dad and Kate are basically happening at this point, even though nothing really physical has happened. Obi then sees a Gossip Girl blast about Zoya and Simon hanging out, but Kate deletes the post, but obviously everybody's already seen it. So they arrive at the party wanting to make a big splashy entrance, but there are a lot of people who show up in the same costume, so it's a fail. Simon, who is either a stalker or an imposter at this point, shows up to the party as well. A lot of drama happens having to do with the costumes. Monet then decides to work for the other girls who are kind of Jillian's nemesis in a way, so they split up. Luna decides to stay with Jillian, so it'll be interesting to see them in competing factions. But Monet and Luna are so good together. I don't know. This was the most interesting part of the episode though for me. Nelly Yuki is there and Obi has been doing some undercover detective work. Turns out that Simon is a researcher for the New York magazine and he wanted to find out who Gossip Girl was. He thought that it would be Zoya, just like Dan was the OG Gossip Girl. By the way, Nelly is pretty much Simon's boss, which is why she was there. Another guy at the party tells Max that he also hooked up with the teacher when he was underage. Later on, when Max confronts the teacher, he says that they were all legal though. The teacher also gets weirdly manipulative, like he tells Max that his friends don't actually care about him, but Max has seen enough, I guess, so he walks away from this mess. Aki and Audrey kind of make up again, but they are struggling. She gets a call from the hospital about her mother who has suffered an overdose and she'll be fine, but the recovery will be tough. Eventually, at the end of the episode, Kate decides to put Gossip Girl back online, but without a comment section. And that's episode 5 of Gossip Girl. This episode seems to be all about families, and I'm glad because Jillian's dad is kinda hot, and I genuinely like Max's parents. The teacher has the audacity to still text Max, so this isn't over. Given how bizarrely vindictive the teachers are on the show, we can expect some shenanigans. Zoe are being weird and shy about texting each other good morning, and I'm guessing it's because Obi exposed Simon last week, and she still feels weird about him being an idealist who doesn't really take any action. Jules' dad is disappointed because she got a bad grade on the PSAT, and he's trying to encourage her to invest more in her education, but she has a brand and a business, and she's trying to convince her dad that she'll be able to make a legit living out of that, which, I mean, isn't a lie. Zoya catches her dad texting Kate, and I didn't really listen to the rest of this conversation. She's complaining about Obi. Audrey doesn't want to go to school, and she's been at the hospital all week looking out for her mom. Max brings her some food, Aki brings her a change of clothes, and this is good. I love that Max is coming back into the friendship fold and he has a storyline with them again. Kate now has a schedule for Gossip Girl and she's giving off very strong girl boss energy here. She wants to expand, she wants to report on fashion fails, just ew to all of them and all of this. Then she gets a text from Zoya's dad inviting her to dinner. One of the teachers suggests that she could go and get some dirt on Zoya/Jillian's dead mother. Luna is excited to take Jules' brand to the next level, so she suggests a collaboration, and I guess we're going to get a behind the scenes look at her influencer stuff. I can honestly never tell though if Jillian is even into it or not because she doesn't seem to be, but okay. Also, I miss Monet, like how dare she not be in this episode at all? So the teacher is low-key kind of stalking Max, and it's weird, it's gross, it's desperate. Max tells them in no uncertain terms, though, that they're done. I feel like they were really heavy-handed with this Audrey in the hospital storyline. They have her just being rude to hospital staff, and I get it, she's stressed about her mother, but all of her yelling throughout this episode made me kind of anxious. It was too much. Ooh, and then something interesting happens. This chemistry between Obi and Jillian is good, right? I touched on this a couple of episodes ago and I was happy for them to just be friends, but I've changed my mind. I want this. Obi's mom is in town and Jillian tells Zoya that Obi is kind of scared of her, so she, as in Zoya, has to make the first move to meet her. This is such dumb advice. I mean, if it means a lot to you to meet your boyfriend's parents, but he doesn't want you to or isn't ready, going behind his back to meet them anyway is not the move. Like, just talk to him, Zoya. Also, they've been dating for about a month, so it's no big deal. Although Obi's not completely blameless in this, we'll get to that in a bit. So the teacher tells Kate that he has some kind of insider scoop for Gossip Girl, and I guess this is going to be his revenge for Max breaking up with him. Zoya goes to introduce herself to Obi's mother, and it turns out that Obi didn't even tell his mom that he'd broken up with Jillian. At first, I thought that the mother was going to be rude and dismissive, but she's actually nice to Zoya and invites her to dinner with the Menzies, so Aki's parents. Also, it turns out that Obi lied about her visit being a surprise, so he deliberately withheld that from Zoya. Bless Jillian though, because she seems to be really genuine and she helps Zoya out. Zoya is so clumsy though, I'm certain that whatever plan she cooks up won't work. So Zoya shows up to the dinner that she initially declined and she ends up Zoyaing all over the place. I think it was Obi who called it that. She challenges Aki's dad, who is this Rupert Murdoch type of character, and Obi's mom, who wants to demolish a shelter and build luxury condos. My ideals align with Zoya's here, but I found her so rude and pelty, I can't. Meanwhile, across town, we get to sit in on a boring sponsorship deal meeting with Jillian and some brands. This is such a lazy storyline, come on. Zoya gets mad at Obi for not standing up to his mother. Obi is being so wishy-washy though, and he always has been. I don't know what Zoya expects. Okay, so, oh goodness, we're gonna have to talk about this. The inside scoop that the teacher gave to Gossip Girl is that Max has an STI. This is seriously bullying, oh man. Anyway, his plan doesn't work. Max is like, fine, let everybody think that. I'd rather sleep with no one than with you. As Max leaves, we see that the teacher is on this dating app and he's going to swipe right on Max's dad, who has a profile on there. This storyline makes my stomach hurt. Kate gives a 10-minute presentation speech about herself on her date with Zoya's dad, and I guess he's interested, but who cares? Audrey might have also accidentally outed Aki to his parents and she freaks out about it. Zoe have a fight and she says that she can see what he's like around Jillian. I mean, does Zoya even like Obi though? Because I don't know. I suppose if I were in a relationship when I was 15 years old though, I might also have been confused and acted out. So I'm gonna cut her some slack here. Obi then tells Jillian to stay out of his relationship basically, and he asks her if she's sabotaging. They have a moment and I swear I sensed something here. How does such a boring guy like Obi have such great chemistry with Jillian? I hope we get a messy love triangle situation and some real sister drama, please. Finally, Zoya is happy because Obi is taking a stand. He's at a protest, protesting his mother's company's condo thing. She runs off to go and meet him there, but uh-oh. Aki's mother tries to connect with him, and it seems that she would actually be supportive of who he is, but she senses that he's not ready, so she backs off a little. I like her, and I like the storyline. He's so adorable. Max talks to his father, and his father tells him that nothing happened between him and the teacher. He tells his dad that the teacher's not a good person. I don't know who this actor is, but he's so good, right? I mean, he's always been good at playing the character Max, but it really just stood out for me this episode, and a couple of episodes ago when he was interacting with his parents. And then, oh my goodness, it's starting. Jillian arrives as moral support for Obi, and she joins him in the protest just as Zoya arrives. Zoya's upset and she runs off, and I genuinely feel bad for her here, but this is good. Then Aki's dad outs him on national TV to save his own skin and prove that he's not a homophobe. Zoya demands to know if Jillian still loves Obi, and Jillian says yes, but that she knows that Obi loves Zoya. Then we have some really fun and steamy final scenes. Audrey gives a thank you dinner to Aki and Max. I knew how this was going to end. I'm here for it. Also, look at Max's jersey in this scene. It's good, right? It's like that cable knit jersey that Chris Evans wore in the movie Knives Out. Anyway. And then, finally, as Jillian and Obi are running away from the protest because the police have arrived, they kiss. It was fireworks, you guys, seriously. And there you have it, episode 6 of Gossip Girl that ended on such a high note for me. Still not without its issues, but I'm happy I've stuck around. Anyway, thank you for watching.